Stop using personality assessments to justify bad behavior. There, I said it. Hi, my name is Carrie. I'm a facilitative leadership trainer, and I create engaging experiences that help people connect and collaborate. And today we're talking about personality assessments, so let's get into it. I'm sure you, like myself, and many of us have taken a lot of personality assessments in our career. Oftentimes, organizations use them to identify our communication and our work style. And while they can be helpful, they've also been used in ways that have given them a bad rap. And, people just don't always trust them. So we think about personality assessments. They can be so useful in an organization when we're really using them for the intention to bring self-awareness, so that I understand how my behaviors impact other people, and that I have the ability to shift that behavior when needed. When I can recognize that I might be showing up maybe too stressed out and I have to kind of roll back, or maybe I'm working on a project and I'm having to put a little bit more effort into being detail oriented, and I'm just not normally that way. So we can use personality assessments to help us understand how we're showing up and how we're working, but then giving us a shared language of how to let others know what to expect from us, or maybe what's different, or how I'm really working and communicating today. What often ends up happening is that people use their personality as an assessment as an excuse just to be an ass, right? To be like, well, I'm sorry, I'm so direct, but that's just my personality. Or, Sam, she doesn't mean to take over the conversation. She just always has so many good ideas, so we just kind of let her do it. That's not what personality assessments are about. It's really about how to get everyone on the same page, how to have that shared set of language so that we can work more efficient and effectively together. And I've used personality assessments for a while, probably the past 7 years, and I've seen them really transform organizations because they're using them correctly. They're using them to understand, one, what's going on with me, how I show up, what I need, how I prefer to communicate, and how I communicate to the rest of the team what I need. So for an example, I am just not a very detail-oriented person. I'm not. It's just not my first natural place to think. But it does not mean that I can't be detail-oriented. What I've learned about myself is that when I'm working on tasks that require me to be detail-oriented, I have to shut out a lot of things, right? I have to, turn off the music that might be playing in the background. I need to shut off my notifications. I might need to shut my door. Sometimes I, light a candle or do something, right, that really is going to help me focus in on what it is that I'm doing. And one of the things that I've learned to do, because I am normally somebody who is spontaneous, who loves flexibility, who can go with the flow, who loves different ideas coming at me, right? When I'm in that detail-oriented space, I have to let people know that's where I'm at, right? It's just being able to say, look, I'm really spending a lot of time and energy right now focusing on this task. So, for the next 30 minutes, don't bother me. Don't throw any squirrels at me, right? I'm not going to answer emails, but just being able to communicate that with other people. And they start to know and recognize. What was happening before was that I was focused so much into a task and somebody would throw something at me that normally was not a big deal, and it was just kind of deer in the headlights. And sometimes I would get kind of snappy, right? Because it was just pulling me out of where I was really focusing. Where when I'm working with somebody who is my psychological opposite, who naturally carries a lot of those detail-oriented tasks, they just really love to think that way, and that's just naturally where they gravitate towards. And we're working on something where we have to be very adaptable or flexible, or just be creative. I also know that I can't ask them right now to jump into the deep end with me and think about all these awesome things that we could possibly create, right? That's a really big jump. And so I recognize that in the people that I'm working with, and I'm able to say, okay, here's kind of what I'm thinking. Let's kind of walk it backwards. What are some questions that you need me to answer that are going to help you get from point A to point B? Right? What are some missing pieces that I can help you fill in along the way so that you're on the right track with me? And I have to have some patience and I have to give grace, but I also have to be willing to engage in that conversation to help them see what I'm seeing. Oftentimes we get frustrated, right? And we have this idea in my head. I'm like, oh, we should do this. This would be a great idea. And someone who is a detail-oriented thinker is asking questions like, well, what about this? Well, how would we do this? And they don't mean for it to come off as I don't believe in you or I think this is a really bad idea. They just can't picture it in their head. And so rather than getting offended by them saying, I don't get it, being able to say, okay, what can I help you with? Right? What are the pieces that are unclear to you? What's going to help you fill in some of those spots? What are some questions that you have for me that I can help think about? What are maybe some things that I'm not asking you that you need to help you get to where we're going? So again, like there's so many things that we can do when we understand personality. And when I understand that that is naturally where you are, I can easily show grace, right? Than maybe not knowing where somebody's coming from. I often find it actually more frustrating to work with people who are just like me. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but people who think the way that I think, that are really flexible and adaptable and kind of go with the flow and just want to collaborate and make sure that everybody's on the same page. When I work with people like that, that's really frustrating to me. I'm just like, make a decision. Tell me what to go do. Right? But I also know, because I've done personality assessments and I have this self-reflection of how I show up in those places and what I need somebody to do to help me get to the end goal. And there's a lot of tools and techniques that we teach in our classes that help to engage all of those thinking styles, because it's so important to have that diversity of thought, to have someone who can really think in the details, to have someone who's really focused on the collaboration and that it's a win-win situation for everybody. For those that are really inspirational and big picture thinkers that have all the great ideas. For those people who are just like, we need to make a decision and we need to make sure we're continuing to go and to move and to do all the things. There's so many things, so much value that having all those types of thinkers together can bring. And understanding how to have a conversation or come to consensus on something or do some planning that encourages all of those thinking styles that also recognize the gifts that you bring and help lift up the gifts that others bring is so valuable in our workplace today. So if you're looking for a personality assessment to help your team, there's a couple of tips that I want you to think about when you're trying to find one that's the best fit. And the first one, I think, is just understanding that looking for a personality assessment that doesn't label people. It doesn't put people in a box that says you are this, right? You have to stay in this box. That's what you tested at. That's what we expect from you. Because we all have the ability to do all of the things. Some just take more time, effort, and energy than others. I also want you to look for an assessment that looks at the qualities of our personality as all being positive, right? I don't want someone to come into our organization and say, well, you tested this on your personality assessment and we don't want that here, right? That's not what we're looking for. If your personality assessment kind of gears towards some of that, that might not be the culture that you're really looking to create. But be clear, however you're going to use your personality assessments, be clear to your organization and to your people how you're using them, what they're intended for, how it can better help them create a culture of collaboration and communication. And the last thing is have fun, because they can really be a lot of fun to understand one another, to the activities that come with them, and it can build a lot of trust within your organization. If you're interested in learning more, let me know, but I want to hear, what are some personality assessments that you've done? What are things that you've appreciated about them? What are things that maybe you really didn't like? And let's talk more about it. Until next time.